Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie and today we'll be planning my September TBR with my book box. But before we get started on that, I will be telling you about the books I've read in August. The first book I read was A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and it was a solid 5-star rating for me. I absolutely loved it and I could see myself rereading this in the future. The next book I read was The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak, and it was a reread and it kept its 5-star rating. I still love this book just as much as I did every other time I've read it, and I could see myself continuing to reread this in the future. Next was The Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold, and I didn't like this one that much. It was a 3-star rating for me, 2 or 3, I can't remember which exactly. But I didn't actually like it that much, but the writing style was really good. It's just the actual story I didn't like. But yeah, so not my favorite. In these first 3 books I mentioned, you can kind of go watch my supernatural reading vlog to see, I guess, more of my thoughts about those books. After I read The Lovely Bones, I read and listened to Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson as an ebook and audiobook on Libby. And I love that one. I think I rated it 4 stars because there was just one thing at the end that I wasn't sure about, or maybe it was at the beginning, I don't remember which. But either way, I loved that book. It was such a good book, and I want to continue to read more of Tiffany D. Jackson's books. After that, I listened to Lobizona by Romina Garber on Scribd, and I loved that book. It was so good. I believe I also rated it 4 stars just due to one thing that I didn't like that much. I didn't think really added to the story in any way. But it was such a well-written book, and I eventually want to read it physically. After that, I read Head Over Heels by Hannah Ornstein, and this one was okay. I liked it for the most part, but there were also parts I really wasn't a fan of, so this one ended up being, I think, a 3-star rating for me. I didn't dislike it, just there were some parts that I think could have been expanded on more, and I think I was expecting it to be a little bit more romantic than it was, and I ended up not liking the love interest really that much. But yeah, so this was a pretty good book, but not a favorite in any way. The final book I completed this month was Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo, which I think I also rated 3 stars. Once again, I didn't dislike it all that much, but I also didn't like it that much either, and 3 stars for me is kind of a middle ground. It can be a 3-star rating that was written amazingly, but I didn't like the story at all, The Lovely Bones, or it can be I just didn't like it that much, but also it wasn't bad, Head Over Heels. And so I didn't like it that much, but it wasn't bad, and I will continue with the series, or the trilogy. I think I only have 1 book left in the trilogy before I try to read the rest of the Grishaverse books. But yeah, just 3 stars for me. Most of these books were on my August TBR, except for The Lovely Bones and Lobizona by Romina Garber. I also started The Beauty and Breaking by Michelle Harper, and I only got a chapter in, and I didn't DNF it, but I ended up reading something else, and the month's already so close to ending, so I just put that back in the box, and I will try to get to it next time I draw it, or next time I'm in the mood to read it while I'm going through another month. And I'm also currently about a quarter of the way through Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins. It's the 2nd book in the Hunger Games trilogy. My library hold on it finally came through, so I started it. And I'm probably not going to finish it before September 1st. Today is the 30th for me, by the way. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But if I don't finish it, I'll just drag it into September and finish it then. So we're about to start drawing books out of my handy little book box from my mother-in-law. I think I'm just going to draw 6 again because I read 7 books this month. 8 if I finish with Hunger Games. So we're gonna just go ahead and draw 6 again because I think we can do that. So I'm about to draw my first book. I'm just gonna shuffle. I'm trying to look even though I can't actually see what they say very well. Alright, so for the first book I'll be reading in September, or at least speaking for my TBR, is The Beauty and Breaking by Michelle Harper. So that's funny. That one ended up back on my TBR. So we'll be adding that back in. Alright, so first up is The Beauty and Breaking by Michelle Harper. I told you that I started the first chapter of this book in August, and I put it up, and I ironically picked it up for the first book in September. So yeah, I'm excited to get back to reading this. I only read the first chapter, so I have quite a bit to go. It's essentially a memoir, I guess, autobiography type book about Michelle Harper and her experience as a Black woman who becomes an emergency room doctor and her experiences in that. And so yes, I'm very excited to get back to reading this book. Sorry, I don't mean to stare at y'all awkwardly for forever. Just, I don't want to look at the box. All right, the next book I'll be reading is Again But Better by, I think it says Christina Riccio. Again But Better. So yeah, that's one I bought a few months ago. All right, so for Again But Better by Christine Riccio, I'll be reading Again But Better by Christine Riccio. I don't know much about this book. I just read like, you know, the little inside flap. But I know it's about a girl who is a pre-med student who's like always done everything right. But she's kind of, I guess, coming to the end of her college career and realizing she's kind of lonely. So she signs up for a study abroad trip. And I'm assuming that's where things kind of become different, where she comes out of her shell or something and makes friends. I'm assuming that's what it's probably about. But yeah, this is a book that I bought, I think, back in April. And I'm excited to finally be getting to it. Alright, so the third book on my September TBR looks like it will be a library physical book. I think I already have one in mind. So for physical library book, I will be reading The One by John Mars. This book is about a group of people, or not really a group of people, but essentially there's a way now where your DNA can help you find your soulmate, and I think it follows 5 specific people like in their journey to like seeing how the process goes once they're matched. And so I'm excited to get to this one. I just put it on my, or I just ordered my library books, and so hopefully I'll get to pick them up tomorrow. So for the 4th book on my September TBR, we have The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sagar. And this is one that I've also been wanting to get to for a while. Alright, so for The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sagar, I'll be reading The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sagar. I just read a little bit of the inside flap, and it's essentially about this girl named Emma. And there was an incident when she was a child where she was camping and 3 of the girls she was bunking with went missing. And so I'm assuming the lie will be based around that. I'm not really sure. I'm excited to get to this one though. I've been wanting to read more thriller and horror books, because that's like a genre I don't read a lot of as well. For the 5th book on the TBR, we have a Libby ebook or audiobook. For the Libby ebook / audiobook, I'll be reading The Wrath and the Dawn by Renee Audier. This book has actually been on my Goodreads TBR for a pretty long time now, so I'm excited to finally be getting around to it. And this book is, from what I can tell, about it's like a girl who she volunteers to marry this king who is known for killing his brides, I guess pretty soon after their wedding. But she volunteers, and she kind of goes with the intent to stay alive, and I'm assuming the intent to kill him because he also married and killed one of her best friends. So yeah, like I said, this is one that I've had on my TBR for a while that I'm very excited to be getting to finally. And now we're gonna draw the 6th book. This one is one with a 1-word title. For 1-word title, I'll be reading Evermore by Alison Noel, and I will be picking it up with my other library book because I didn't have any 1-word titles on my bookshelf at home that I hadn't already read, and I didn't want to do another ebook. I really wanted to read a physical book, and also I didn't want to go all the way to the library just for one book. So Evermore, I believe I read it in junior high, like the first time. And I can, like, just rereading the summary a minute ago, I can see why I liked it in junior high because it's very Twilight-esque, and also just like very reminiscent of like early 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s, like YA romance, because it's like this girl where something traumatic and sad has happened to her and she's probably not like other girls, and then there's this guy who is like just somehow got the ability to change everything. So essentially is what I read. Basically this girl, Ever Bloom, something traumatic has happened to her, and she's kind of started a new school after all that, and she's kind of labeled as a freak, and there's just all these issues because she can read people's auras, I'm assuming their minds, and apparently their life stories, and it's really sad and complicated for her. And then she meets this guy named Damon, and apparently he makes it all better. But yeah, I kind of wanted to, I've had this on my Goodreads TBR for a few months now because I kind of want to reread it and see if it holds up. Alright, so I'm actually going to draw a 7th book today because I'm kind of having fun drawing and I want to see what I can get. Alright, for this one I have Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. Alright, and lastly for Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi, I'll be reading Permanent Record by Mary H.K. Choi. I believe I got this book as a Christmas gift last year, and I love the dust jacket, like when you take that off, and I like the clear dust jacket. I think it's awesome. Anyways, this book is about this guy who's kind of like down on his luck. Things are kind of tough. He's a college dropout. He's working a job that's like, I guess, probably not quite fulfilling, but also not doing what he needs it to do financially. And then there's this girl who is essentially super famous, a pop star, and she's got more than what she could ask for essentially. And they meet at 5:30 or 5 in the morning in some random spot, and I guess stuff goes from there. But I'm excited to read this book. I really enjoyed Emergency Contact, so I have really high hopes for Permanent Record, and I'm excited to get to this one as well. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. I had a lot of fun picking out my September TBR for my fancy little book box. And yes, I'm very excited to get to all these books. I can't decide which one I'm excited to get to first. But anyways, let me know your thoughts on any of these books. If you have any prompt ideas, feel free to leave those in the comments as well. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye.